When they saw this before their eyes, the Messenger alayhisalam, Salih, said to them, "This is the she-camel of Allah. It doesn't belong to anyone. It's not born from any other camel. It's Allah's camel, as a miracle, as a sign, as you have asked. You have to now leave it. God has made a condition. You're not allowed to harm it, you're not allowed to touch it, and you have to leave it to graze wherever it wants."
And so some of the people believed in Salih. As the Quran does mention that there were people from the people of Thamud who did believe in Salih, alayhisalam. But the majority of them, they disbelieved in Salih even though the camel had been brought. And so the condition was that the camel was not to be harmed in any way, and that the camel would drink one day from the water and they would drink the other day. This is such an enormous camel and such a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It would drink the water of the entire people of Thamud, and it had its whole day for drinking. And the day when they weren't drinking from the water, they were actually drinking from the milk of this camel, enough milk to give to the entire tribe of Thamud. And how many people are we speaking about? This is the tribe of Thamud, and this is Naqatullah. It was pregnant, and it gave birth to baby she-camel. Now, Salih alayhi salam made a promise with the people of Thamud. He said that Allah is bringing the sign, and do not touch it with any harm. And they made the promise.
The chiefs of those who behaved arrogantly among his people said, to those who were considered weak from those who believed, "Do you believe that Salih is sent by the Lord?" They said, "Indeed, we believe in the messenger with which he has been sent." Those who were haughty said, "We certainly disbelieve in what you believe." So they slew the she-camel and insolently defied their Lord's command and challenged Salih, saying, "Bring us that which you threaten us with if you are a messenger." It says that a group of young men who were troublemakers, they got together in secret with the chiefs of the city. And they said in secret when Salih was away, they said, "We're going to go in the night because this she-camel has caused us problems. What is this? Everyone's now believing in what Salih has come with. Get rid of it. We can't lose what we have of pride and power. Secondly, what's this? It drinks from the whole well. We have to wait till the next day. Get rid of it. And thirdly, this is a lot of meat. It can serve the whole city. Get rid of it."
The worst of them, his name was Qidar ibn Salih. These 9 people, they did this. One of them, actually, Qidar ibn Salih, was the one who started it. They first cut off the tendons. Once they started in the cutting and the spearing and the arrowing of the camel, it cried out. And the whole land was shaking from her cry. She was crying for her child, to warn her child of what they were doing. And as the books of Tariq and Tafsir, they'll say that this fasil, the baby camel, it climbed up and ran away, and it climbed up to the top of the mountain, and it cried out itself. It cried out 3 times. Salih alayhi salam said to his people, he said, "Enjoy yourselves in your places, in your dwellings, 3 days. That this is a promise that has no lie in it." And Salih alayhi salam, the people who believed in Salih, they left. And now they had 3 days. And so they started partying, and they were mocking and ridiculing. And so on the first day, their faces became yellow. And they would say, "Oh, the first day has passed." And they're like, "Oh, no punishment has come." The second day, their faces became red. And they said, "Oh, the punishment is coming. It's day 2, day 2, ha 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 ha." And then day 3 came, and their faces turned black. And they said, "It's day 3, where's the punishment of Allah? Where's the punishment?" And they're laughing and they're mocking. So much so that they went to an exaggeration in their mocking, that they started wearing their kafan in mockery. Like it was like a party, like Halloween or something like this. That they're dressing up like the dead. And they said it's the 3rd day. And then at that 3rd day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down his punishment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَدَمْدَمَ عَلَيْهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ بِذَنْبِهِمْ فَسَوَّاهَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كَذَّبَتْ ثَمُودُ وَعَادٌ بِالْقَارِعَةِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Thamud and Ad, they disbelieved and they claimed that it was a lie. When you say disbelieve, they're saying that the Qari'ah, the day of judgment, this shaking, the quake that's going to lead to the day of resurrection, they disbelieved in it. Meaning they said that it was a lie. It's not happening. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and so as for the people of Thamud, they were destroyed, annihilated, bit-taghiyah. This is actually interesting. Taghiyah and Qari'ah. The translation of the first one is they disbelieved in the stunning calamity. In many verses of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the day of resurrection happening with Al-Qari'ah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that when that Qari'ah happens, you know how they say that the mountains will be turned into stone? The mountains will not crumble to the sea when the Qari'ah happens. You know what will happen to the mountains? They will be turned into dust. It's nothing, like a feather. That's what the Qari'ah is going to do to the mountains. And now because Thamud disbelieved in the Qari'ah, they said it was a lie, it's not happening, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed them with a taghiyah. And the translation is actually interesting. It says storm and lightning and so on and so forth. But that's not necessarily what at-taghiyah says. Some of the scholars actually, in fact, have mentioned, and this is something that you realize later because at that time you couldn't understand what it is, the power of sound waves and its ability to destroy. And you're talking a destruction that happens like instantaneously. They thought that they would live forever. They were obviously wrong. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed them, He wiped them out as if they never lived there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed them.
Allah says, and the people of Al-Hijr disbelieved the messengers, and we gave them our signs, but they turned away from them. They were hewing houses from the mountains, dwelling therein deemed security. So the thunderous cry seized them in the morning, and what they achieved proved no avail for them. As-Sayha, Allah had sent Jibreel alayhisalam, and he screamed, and they died.
Stories of the Prophets by Sayyid Abdul Hassan Ali Nadwi. The Prophet Salih. After the Ad, the people of Thamud were the heirs to Ad, as they were the heirs to the community of Nuh, alayhisalam. The Thamud followed after the Ad, and as the Ad had followed after Nuh alayhisalam. The land of Thamud was also a beautiful green land of gardens and running rivers and springs.
So I am but a messenger from God. So then Salih turned around and said to them, my Lord says, anything you choose, and I will do it for you bi-idhnillah, with the power of Allah. They said, we'll decide. He said, you decide. They said, anything. He said, you name it and it will happen. You choose. So they said, they gathered each other, the mala, the leaders of them who were full of arrogance and proudness and haughtiness. They said to him, one of them said, okay, we want you to produce to us a fully grown she-camel. It can't be born from any other camel. And it can't be a baby that's growing. It has to be right there and then a full-grown she-camel. Pop up like that. They laughed. Then a second person said, oh, I have one too. This same she-camel that has to pop up from nowhere has to be the hugest she-camel we have ever laid eyes on in our life. A third person said, In fact, how about this one? It has to be so big that there is a well that we share, that we drink from in the city. It has to be so big that it would need to drink from this whole one well, so that no more water is left in the well for the whole city to drink in one day. Then a fourth person said, I have a good one. This same she-camel has to come out from that rock over there. They all laughed and they started to talk among each other. Then Salih came back to them and said, if I did this, will you then believe? They looked at each other and said, of course we will, sarcastically. They went back home calling him a crazy man, a lunatic, a silly man. A few weeks, months went by. And this is the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala works with the people who go against him. And one day Salih had made an appointment for them and said to them, come and meet me near the rock that you chose. And bi'idhnillah, with the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, before their eyes, the earth rumbled and the big stone or the big hill cracked open. And out of it walked the largest she-camel they have ever seen, and was pregnant with another camel almost about to give birth. When they saw this before their eyes, the Messenger alayhisalam, Salih, said to them, this is the she-camel of Allah. It doesn't belong to anyone. It's not born from any other camel. It's Allah's camel, as a miracle, as a sign, as you have asked. You have to now leave it. God has made a condition. You're not allowed to harm it, you're not allowed to touch it, and you have to leave it to graze wherever it wants.
And so some of the people believed in Salih, as the Quran does mention that there were people from the people of Thamud who did believe in Salih.
The Prophet Salih. After the Ad, the people of Thamud were the heirs to Ad, as they were the heirs to the community of Nuh al-Islam. The Thamud followed after Ad, as the Ad had followed after Noah. The land of Thamud was also a beautiful green land of gardens and running rivers and springs. The Thamud were the people of, as the Ad, in their culture and crops, and in the vast number of their gardens. They excelled the Ad in intelligence and skill. They carved beautiful, spacious houses out of the mountains and produced wonderful paintings on the stones. They skillfully worked stone as others might use soft wax. Visitors to their city saw great palaces like mountains, looking as if they had been built by the jinn. Colorful flowers painted on the walls, looking as fresh as if the spring had brought them out. The Prophet Salih. After the Ad, the people of Thamud were the heirs to the Ad, as they were the heirs to the community of Nuh al-Islam. The Thamud followed after the Ad, as the Ad had followed after Noah al-Islam. The land of Thamud was also a beautiful green land of gardens and running rivers and springs. The Thamud were the same as the Ad in their culture and crops, and in the vast number of their gardens. They excelled the Ad in intelligence and skill. They carved beautiful and spacious houses out of the mountains and produced wonderful paintings on the stones. They skillfully worked stone as others might use soft wax. Visitors to their city saw great palaces like mountains, looking as if they had been built by the jinn, colorful flowers painted on the walls, looking as fresh as if the spring had just brought them out. Allah poured out blessings both in the heavens and the earth for the Thamud. Heaven was generous to them with rain. The earth was gracious to them with the plants and flowers. The gardens were generous. The heavens was generous to them with rain. The garden was generous to them with plants and flowers, and the gardens were generous to them with fruits. Allah Ta'ala blessed them in provisions and livelihood. The Thamud's disbelief. However, none of that moved the people of Thamud to be grateful and worship the glory and greatness of Allah. It led them to reject Allah and to be unjust. They forgot Allah while they rejoiced in what they had been given. They would say, "Who is stronger than us?" They lived as if they believed that death would never enter their palaces and gardens, that they would own and enjoy them forever. They thought that death would find no way to reach them in their high mountains. They thought that Noah Islam's community had only been drowned because they had been in a valley, and that the Ad had been destroyed because they lived on a plain. They believed that the people of Thamud were in a place of safe from fear and death. Idol worship. But the people of Thamud went still further in their thanklessness. From the stones they carved, they made idols and worshipped them, just as the community of Noah Islam and of Ad had gone. Allah had made them masters of stone, but in their ignorance they became the slaves of stones. Allah had raised them up and provided them with good things, but they lowered themselves and dishonored mankind. Allah does not wrong people at all, but people wrong themselves. Quran chapter 10 verse 44. What strange madness! The very stones that had carved, and with their own hands, stones that would neither hear them or answer them in any way, they abased themselves before bits of senseless, lifeless rock and fell down in prostration. Do the strong worship the weak? Does the master prostrate to the slave? But they forgot Allah and forgot themselves, and they refused to worship Allah, so Allah brought down their pride. Salih, the messenger. Allah willed for the people of Thamud a messenger. He sent them a messenger as he had sent one of the community of Noah Islam, and then to Ad. Allah does not like his slaves to reject him. Allah does not like corruption in the earth. There was a man among them whose name was Salih. He had been born in a noble house and grew up intelligent and virtuous. Indeed, he was such a noble and sensible youth that people would point him out and say, "This is Salih, this is Salih." People had great hopes for him and thought that one day he would be one of those noblest and wealthiest men. They thought that he would have a great castle and a beautiful garden. His father thought that his son would obtain great wealth through his intelligence and would stand out amongst people. He thought that he would ride on a fine horse followed by servants. People would greet him and say, "This is the son of so-and-so." How happy he imagined he would be when he heard people saying that he was the most fortunate in his son who had become so very rich. But Allah willed otherwise. Allah wanted to honor Salih with prophethood and to send him to his people, to bring him out of this darkness and into the light. What honor is greater? What nobility is higher than that? Salih's call. Salih stood up amongst his people, saying in his loudest voice, O my people, worship Allah. You have no God but Allah. Chapter 11, verse 61, Quran. The rich people were busy eating and drinking, playing and amusing themselves. They worshipped idols and thought that there was no other God. They did not like Salih's call. The wealthy men of Thamud became angry and exclaimed, Who is this? The servants replied, This is Salih. They asked, What does he say? They say, He says, Worship Allah. You have no God but Him. He says that Allah will raise you up after your death and repay you. He says, I am Allah's messenger. He has sent me to my people. The rich people laughed and said, A pauper, can this man be a messenger? He has neither castle nor garden. He has neither crops nor palm trees. How can he be a messenger? The propaganda of the rich. The rich of Thamud saw that some of the people inclined towards Salih. They feared for their position of leadership and said, This is nothing but a mortal like yourselves, who eats what you eat and drinks what you drink. If you obey a mortal like yourselves, you will be losers. What does he promise you? That when you are dead and become dust and bones, that you will be brought forth? Away with what you are promised. There is nothing but the life of this world. We live and we die, and we shall not be raised up. He is only a mortal who had forged lies against Allah, and he does not believe him. Quran, chapter 23, verse 33 to 38. Our opinion was wrong. The people rejected Salih and did not believe him. When Salih warned him and told him not to worship idols, they said, Salih, you used to be such a noble and sensible youth. We thought that you would become of our great men and nobles. We thought that you would be like so-and-so and so-and-so. You have turned out to be a nobody. Those who were the same age as you and not as intelligent as you have become famous and powerful. But you, Salih, you chose the path of poverty. You were wrong in your opinion. We were wrong in our opinion of you. We are disappointed in our hopes for you. Your poor father, how he did not receive any good from you. Your poor mother, her efforts on you were wasted. Salih heard all of this and was sad for his people. When Salih passed by them, they would say, May Allah show mercy in Salih's father, the son of the son is wasted. Salih's advice. Salih kept on advising, giving advice to his people and calling them to Allah with wisdom and kind-heartedness. He said, My brothers, do you think you will be here forever? Do you think that you will live in these houses forever? Do you think that you will remain in these gardens and by these rivers? That you will always eat from these crops and trees? That you will always carve houses out of the mountains? Never. That will never be. Why did your fathers die, my brothers? They too had palaces, and they too had gardens and springs, and they too used to carve houses out of the mountains. But none of that helped them. None of that protected them. The angel of death came to them and found a way to reach them. So you will also die, and Allah will raise you up again and question you about these blessings. I do not ask for a wage. Salih alayhisalam, Salih alayhisalam said, My brothers, why do you run away from me? What do you fear? I will not lessen your wealth at all. I do not ask you for anything. I advise you and convey to you the messages of my Lord. I do not ask you for any wage for it, and my wage falls only on Allah. the Lord of all the worlds. Chapter 26, verse 145. My brothers, why don't you obey me when I am a faithful advisor to you? Why do you obey those who oppress people and consume their properties, those who have given themselves up to easy living and corrupt land, and who do not put things right? My brothers, why don't you obey me when I am faithful advisor to you? Why do you obey those who oppress people and consume their property, those who have given themselves up to easy living and corrupt land, and who do not put things right? The people were dumbfounded and could think of no answer. Instead, they said, "You are one of those sorcerers. You are only a mortal like us. So bring a sign if you are speaking the truth." Chapter 26, verse 153 to 104, Quran. The Camel of Allah. Salih al-Islam asked, "What sign do you want?" They said, "If you are speaking the truth, then bring out a pregnant camel from this mountain." They knew that camels are only born from camels, and that a camel does not grow out of the ground, nor is produced from stone. They were sure that Saleh would be unable to do it. Then they would win. But Saleh al-Islam had great faith in his Lord. He knew that Allah had the power to do anything. Saleh called on his Lord. All that the people had called for was done. A pregnant she-camel came out of the mountain and gave birth. The people were confused and astonished, but only one of them believed. The arrangement. Salih al-Islam then said, "This is the she-camel from Allah. It is a sign of Allah. You asked, and He created it for you by His power. So respect this camel. Do not touch her with evil, lest you be seized by a near punishment." Chapter 11, verse 64. This camel should be allowed to eat and drink in the land of Allah, and to come and go freely. You do not need to provide it with drink or fodder. There is plenty. The camel was very large indeed, and very unusual in form. The other camels were afraid of it. Whenever the camel came and drank, the other camels shied and ran away. Salih al-Islam saw that and said, "This camel will come one day, and your camels will come the next day. One day this camel will drink, and the other day your camels will drink." That is how the bonds were arranged between Salih al-Islam and the people of Thamud regarding the camel. When it was the camel's turn, it went and drank. When it was the camel's turn, they went and drank. For a time, these bonds were kept. The Thamud's injustice. When the Thamud were proud, but the Thamud were proud and broke the agreement. They said, "Why can't our camels drink every day?" They were angry at this camel, from which their camels shied away. Saleh had warned them to be gentle with the camel, but they did not heed the warning. They asked one another, "Who will get rid of this camel?" A man stood up and said, "I will." Another stood up and said, "I will." The two wretched men went and waited for the camel. When the she-camel came near, the first man brought her down with an arrow, and the second man finished her off. The punishment. When Salih al-Islam learned that the she-camel had been killed, he was very sad indeed. He told the people, "Enjoy yourselves in your homes for 3 days. This is a promise not to be denied." Quran, chapter 11, verse 65. In the city, 9 evil-minded men who spread evil and corruption in the land, plotted together to get rid of Salih al-Islam. They said, we will kill Salih al-Islam and his family at night. We will not be seen. So, if we are questioned about it, we will say we don't know anything. But Allah protected Salih al-Islam and his family. On the third day, the punishment came to the Thamud. As they woke up in the morning, there was a shout, accompanied by a great earthquake. Their hearts were broken by the shout, and their houses were destroyed by the earthquake. It was a terrible day for Thamud. All the unbelieving people died, and the city was destroyed. Saleh and the believers left that wretched city. What could they have done there if they had stayed? As Saleh al-Islam left, he looked sadly at the remains of the people. Now they were only corpses. He said with great sadness, O my people, I conveyed the message of my Lord to you, and I advised you sincerely, but you did not love sincere advisers. Quran chapter 7 verse 79. Today, in the palace where the Thamud dwelt, there are only empty castles and disused wells. There are only deserted villages. When the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed by the dwelling places of the Thamud on his way to Syria, he told his companions, do not enter the houses of those who wrong themselves unless you enter weeping, fearing that the like of what befell them might befall you. The Thamud rejected their Lord, so away with the Thamud. Chapter 11, verse 68.